All right, so rental property investing. It's the buzzword. Everyone wants to do it. Everyone thinks they're going to become multi-millionaires when they start doing it. But you need to do it properly, otherwise it can cost you a hell of a lot of money. So in this video, I'm going to share my 3 must-dos when investing in property. Right, so let's start with number 1. This knowledge and experience I've built over the last 20 years helping thousands of property investors buy investment properties and rent them out as well. And one of my biggest pieces of advice is to buy freehold. Now I know you're probably thinking, well, everyone buys flats and rents them out. If you can, big caveat, if you can, because you might need to pay a bit more, buy freehold always. Ideally, a small house. If not a small house, at least then a share of freehold apartment or masonette. And I would go as far as to say, if you can't buy in your local area freehold, spread your net wider and invest in another area, but definitely buy freehold. Let me tell you why. So there's one main reason. There's less uncontrollables. So with leasehold, with a block of flats, there's so many uncontrollables. Real world example, I've got a client at the minute, came to me last week, said, Perry, I'm really struggling to sell the flat that I purchased as a buy-to-let investment because the maintenance fees for the building have gone from £2,000 a year to £6,000 a year. As you can imagine, £6,000 of outgoings for someone to buy that property on top of their council tax, on top of their mortgage, on top of their living expenses is just a huge amount of money. So he's now a little bit stuck where he's got to reduce the price a lot to overcome the fact that during his ownership, the maintenance fees for the building have gone from £2,000 to £6,000 a year. So that's another good reason why you should buy freehold. Another reason, in terms of the uncontrollables, is things like the neighbours moving in. Bit harsh, but you could buy this lovely apartment and the neighbours next to it, above it, below it, may be amazing. You could buy it, move a tenant in there, and then next door could move in some crazy, mad neighbours that are causing so much trouble to the whole block, and then you're stuck with that problem. So there's my tip number 1, buy a freehold property. So here's another must-do. The key, what I've learned from many multi-property millionaires, the key to property investing is the price that you buy it at. We all know this. If you buy well, you're going to get a good return. But you're sitting there thinking, well, how do I do that? A really clever way, and what I do for clients regularly, is to buy a property via auction, but not your normal property auctions. What I'm talking about here is the clever way. So everyone knows that generally you pick up a bit of a deal, bit of a bargain at property auctions. Be careful, because you can also pick up a complete mess with loads of unforeseen problems that cost you thousands of thousands. So like you would buy a car, I would hope if you're buying a used car, you would take a car mechanic to check it over when you're viewing it. Do exactly the same in buying an auction. But that's not the best thing about auction. Let me get to the crux of it. The best strategy when buying property at auction is to buy and search the unsold auction lots. So obviously, if someone's putting a house in an auction, there's a reason. It's generally because 1, it's got problems and can't sell on the open private treaty market, or 2, they want a quick, no-nonsense sale and are prepared to take a bit less for it to achieve that. So they're pretty motivated sellers. I won't call them desperate, because not everybody in an auction is desperate to sell, much to people's misconception. When you are searching the unsold auction lots, they're double motivated to sell, because they put the property in the auction in the first place. So they were obviously very motivated in the first place. Then they placed it in the auction, it didn't sell. Now they're like, oh my God, I thought it was going to sell. Now I'm double motivated. So you can pick up some really good deals, just kind of sweeping up behind the auction. Don't get caught up in the room, bidding against the guy in the room. A bit of competition, emotion, ego gets in the way. You end up paying more than you should. Just wait. Out of 100 properties in an auction, I guarantee that 25 won't sell. They're the ones that you want to focus on post-auction. They're the ones that are going to be more flexible and negotiable on price and other things that you can negotiate on. So must do number 3 when entering the rental property investment market. Remember this: easy in, easy out. Now, I've had situations in the past with clients where they've purchased a property that had loads of problems, right? Fine. Because at the time, they thought they could solve the problems. But then they were lumbered with a property that they weren't able to solve the problems of, and they couldn't get rid of it and sell it if they needed to. Real world situation. I had a client who bought a property. He had a really life-changing episode thing happen to him. He then needed to liquidate the property, needed to sell it to get the money back out of it, and he was stuck with it for a long time. He actually ended up having to sell it at a massive loss because he just needed money out of it. So what I mean by easy in, easy out is, yeah, sure, you want to buy something that you can add some value to pretty quickly, but there's many properties that you can buy well that have no problems. They're in great condition. They've got no problems with the lease if you're buying flat, but rewatch tip number 1, because I would suggest you buy freehold. But let's say you bought a flat, had a nice long lease, low maintenance fees, great condition, but the seller was in a situation where they needed money now, and you provided a solution for them at a reduced price. You buy at the right price. You've bought something easy that you can easily sell quickly if you needed to, and you've got no risk attached to that. So it's important to make sure that unless you're a really seasoned property investor, start small, go big over time, and build up your portfolio and buy things with bigger problems when you're not as exposed if you can't fix those problems. Hope that helps. And regarding tip 3 about buying unsold property auction lots, if you want to know exactly how to do that, I'll go a lot more detailed. Drop a comment below. I'll record a video on it, and I'll see you soon.